It was a war of attrition on the opening day of the LV County Championship match between Glamorgan and Northamptonshire in Cardiff, with Niall O'Brien and Alex Wakely both coming out on top. Andrew Hall won the toss and batted, and looked to Stephen Peters and O'Brien to get his side off to a solid start as ever. O'Brien had a moment of fortune early on with this shot, while Peters was less fortunate when he was bowled off the inside edge by James Harris for 11. Harris could be on his way to knots at the end of this season, but he would have been happy with his current side start here, after Graham Wagg also had David Sales caught behind for 11 at 34 for 2. Northants had scored those runs at fewer than 2 per over, and that was the pattern of the day really, with Glamorgan bowling some tight lines and the Northamptonshire batsmen fighting hard for every run. There were some lovely shots mixed in with the stoic defending as the visitors tried to grind the runs out of the Welshmen, who began this round of games back at the foot of the second division table after Leicestershire's surprise win over Hampshire at Grace Road last week. O'Brien and Wakely were not making life any easier for their opponents in Cardiff as they steadily went about their business, building up their partnership at a crawl. O'Brien did go to a 50, his latest in a good run of handsome scores, though it had taken this normally free-scoring player 144 deliveries to reach, of only 4 he'd hit to the boundary. Wakely was no speedier, but he did momentarily break the shackles by driving Dean Koska for a 6 on his way to his own half-century, which occupied 131 deliveries. For the most part, Glamorgan's attack was very well disciplined, although, in an attempt to shake things up, spinner Marcus North threw in a bouncer. It had to try something, as this pair of O'Brien and Wakely took their partnership to 152 in 58 overs together. It was that kind of day. Finally, Jim Allenby managed to get one through Wakely's defences as he was bowled for 75, which had occupied 3.5 hours. Perhaps the situation wasn't quite right for the free-flowing Rob Newton, who, after hitting back-to-back centuries in his last match, made only 3 this time. He was then LBW to Harris at 196 for 4. O'Brien is also normally a man who likes to put bat to ball, but he played well within himself all day, showing immense powers of concentration on a pitch which is obviously not an easy one to play shots on. He'd now been joined by Hall, who added to the boundary count, which still only read 21 4s and 1 6 throughout the whole day, a day in which only 4 wickets fell after all. One of those boundaries took O'Brien to his very hard-working 100, his first of the season, since scoring a number of 50s at the top of the order. That was only his 9th 4 from the 265 balls he'd faced, in an innings which was closing in on 6 hours. After all of that, he certainly deserved a celebration. And he was still there at the close of the day, one which he batted all the way through. So he'll go again on the second morning on 114, which has been made out of his size 241 for 4, which was scored at only 2.5 runs per over. Still, it has set up the game rather nicely for Northamptonshire.